This is the 5th minute and 6th second of Nathan kissing me. It was rare for me to momentarily regain clarity in the passion he was creating. But as my gaze moved past his ear and fell upon the clock hanging on the wall, Nathan's hand conveniently landed on my waist. The sudden ticklish feeling made me instinctively retract my gaze. Forced to gaze upon his face, I couldn't help but exclaim internally, "He's too good-looking." Nathan had a face that could overturn multitude emotions. This was not an exaggeration, nor was it my personal opinion. When he came to see university to lecture years ago, he only appeared for a mere 5 minutes. The phrase, "Nathan, he overturns everyone's emotions," quickly spread from the school forum to outside the school, eventually occupying the top trending spot for an entire day. To this day, I still remember the throbbing of my innocent and youthful heart. My inattention thoroughly annoyed Nathan. As he unveiled his eyes, I could read his dissatisfaction. I dare not slack off again, extending my hand to wrap it around his neck. The color of Nathan's pupils suddenly deepened, and the hands holding my waist tightened. I mutter out a sound with my throat, only to provoke him further. The sudden mountain wind stirred up raging waves, engulfing me in a tide of passion. In my daze, I suddenly recalled my naive past. When my young heart first blossomed, I secretly searched for the meaning of kiss. I had forgotten the long article explaining the origin of a kiss, but the phrase, kissing out of love and adoration, still lingers in my mind. But does Nathan adore me? After a night of passion, I turned into a boneless creature, nestled in Nathan's arms, and fell into a deep sleep. Faintly, the vibration of the phone stirred my consciousness. Nathan fumbled and answered the call, his voice was muffled. After hanging up, he gathered me back into his arms, tightening his hug. Irritably, I lashed out with my claws and scratched him a couple of times. Interrupting my sweet dreams, so annoying. Nathan took a couple of deep breaths, caught my hand, and lightly bit it. "You ungrateful little thing." I frowned and ignored him, but my body honestly snuggled into his arms. This natural response pleased Nathan. He chuckled softly, smoothing my hair away from my forehead and kissed my eyebrows. "Stella, something came up. I need to go out for a while, but I promise I'll be back to have dinner with you tonight, alright?" Something came up? Hearing this, my sleepiness vanished completely, and I sprang up and glared at him. "But you promised me yesterday." Out of 365 days, Nathan was busy for almost 360 days. This rare weekend, he promised to accompany me to a movie and shopping. Now, this one phone call just ruined it all. Nathan helplessly sat up, picked up the pajama robe that had fallen to the floor, and put it on me before he spoke. "It's something important for work, I can't postpone it. Once I'm not busy, I'll take you to Paris. You've always wanted to go, right?" Nathan taking the initiative to explain things to me and pacify me, even making a commitment for it, is truly a rare instance. I should have accepted his proposal gracefully, but some nagging sensation inflamed my pride, and I just couldn't swallow the bitterness. "I don't want to go to Paris." "What important stuff?" "It's her, isn't it?" The moment those words left my mouth, I knew I had violated Nathan's taboo. Without fail, Nathan stared at me intently with his dark eyes. "Stella." Within his silent warning, my heart kept sinking, but my pride had me turn around, get out of bed, and retreat to the bathroom before my tears fell. The 43-degree water, slightly scorching, flooded over my skin. The traces Nathan deliberately left on my neck were still there. I desperately held back the falling tears and scrubbed hard. To this day, I've been with Nathan for 4 whole years. I always thought that, in his eyes, in his heart, I was different. But today's attitude mocked my affection for him. No matter how loving we were the second ago, the next second, I must face the reality that he is a sugar daddy, and between him and me, besides the transaction of money and beauty, there's nothing else. Indeed, Nathan is my sugar daddy, that's a well-known fact, and everyone who knew us was aware of it. Why do people seek sugar daddies? Naturally, because they are poor. Naturally, it's for money. It is definitely not for love. This is common sense, but I am that fool who gave away my heart in a transaction. In fact, before the age of 18, being poor was something quite foreign to me. Strictly speaking, I was born with a gold spoon in my mouth. Starting from my grandfather, our family has been running a food processing business. By the time it was passed down to my father, the business was quite successful. We may not have been extremely wealthy, but we were well off. However, an unexpected case of food poisoning and death news shattered everything. Compensation, breached contracts, order, and client losses. Overnight, my family was smothered in debt. Even if we sold all our assets, it did not improve our situation. In the end, my father couldn't cope. With my mother, they jumped off from the top of the company building and turned into dust. They left me alone, to sink or swim in the tumultuous sea of people. At the age of 18, I was young and vulnerable. Seeing the drastic changes in my family, entangled in debt, facing the cold stares and taunts of others, I also wanted to end it all. That's when Nathan appeared. His mother and my mother grew up together. Witnessing the collapse of my family, leaving me alone and facing numerous debt collectors every day, she was heartbroken and had Nathan come to me. Nathan's arrival was timely. He took me away from the filth and gave me a new life. Since then, my feelings for him were not merely gratitude. I admired him, liked him, and even saw him as a lifeline. So when he proposed that I follow him, God knows how happy I was. With the eagerness of a devotee offering sacrifices, I couldn't wait to give everything to him. Even after our first intimate encounter, when his secretary brought a contract for me to sign, I had no hesitation. I thought I was the lucky one who would realize the truth of long roads test the power of horses, time reveals a person's heart, but it was not until I met Jasmine that I realized how delusional I was. It was then that I understood, Nathan's proposition to date me may have been merely out of jealousy. Because Jasmine, who was studying abroad that year, was rumored to be in a romantic relationship with a foreign boyfriend. Creak. The bathroom door opened and Nathan walked in. I didn't turn around. Even when his body pressed against me, frosty from the air outside, I didn't turn around. Stella. His tone was much softer than before, even somewhat affectionate. I didn't respond except for a small continuing to run water down myself. I apologize. It was my fault just now. I shouldn't have been angry with you, Nathan, undeterred by my cold response, wrapped his arms around me tightly. It's just today. I know, you go. I was being capricious just now. As soon as he started speaking, I knew what he was going to say, so I interrupted him before he could finish. My usual understanding and considerate nature pleased him. Nathan couldn't help but kiss me on the cheek. I'll come back to have dinner with you tonight. I pulled the corners of my mouth in a smile and nodded, then watched him leave. As for Nathan's promises, I had learned to take them with a grain of salt. Accompanying me to dinner, watching a movie, attending my graduation ceremony, he had never kept any of these promises. So when Nathan didn't come back for dinner, it was within expectation. I had been disappointed too many times, to the point where I had become used to it, or perhaps I had grown them. After eating dinner, I sat in the living room writing a resume. Most of my classmates had already received their preferred job offers before graduation. Nathan wanted me to join his company after graduation. The first reason was that my major was relevant, and secondly, he could take care of me more conveniently. Thinking that my grades were outstanding and the school brand was prestigious, I agreed willingly as I felt that I would not diminish his company's reputation. So, I had never made a resume or applied to other companies before. However, today I suddenly felt listless and wanted to put some distance between Nathan and me. Just as I had finished my resume, before I even had a chance to stretch, the phone rang. I looked at the caller ID, and it was Nathan, which puzzled me. Hello? Hello, sister-in-law? It wasn't Nathan. Who is this? I replied cautiously. I'm David. Do you remember me, David? Nathan's childhood friend? Nathan is drunk. Can you pick him up? After hanging up, I resignedly changed my clothes and drove to Liao Ji's private kitchen. I didn't expect Nathan to have a day when he would get drunk. He had always been restrained and reserved. Getting drunk and acting recklessly was something he would never do. It seems this issue of Jasmine's engagement has hit him pretty hard. When I arrived, I quickly visited the restroom. When I came out, my appearance was a bit weary since I had rushed out without putting on any makeup. I took out my lipstick and applied it in the mirror. Under the lighting, my face regained some color with the advantage of lipstick. Just as I was about to leave, the conversation from the adjacent bathroom stall stopped me in my tracks. Really gone? Gone. This voice sounds familiar. You're saying, Everest, the top-tier design studio just vanished. Everest is gone? My heart skipped a beat. What does this mean? Everest Design is Nathan's own company. It's not an exaggeration to call it a top-tier company. Everest is derived from the homonym of Nathan's name, and the addition of Jasmine's homonym. Yeah, it will be rebranded shortly. Good heavens. I wanted to continue listening but the occupant of the stall exited. I had to leave in a hurry, but my mind was full of questions. As a recent college graduate, though I don't understand much about running a business, I know that being gone means the company is bankrupt. So, Everest is bankrupt? With my doubts, I found Nathan's private room. As soon as I pushed open the door, I heard David's voice. "Bro, stop drinking. I know it's not easy for you to let go, but once you've recovered, we can start a new company together." "Yes, Nathan. We have plenty of opportunities in the future. Today is just a farewell banquet, there will be plenty of opportunities down the road." That's Nathan's secretary's voice. "So, it's true, Nathan did go bankrupt?" As I walked in and Nathan's secretary was addressing me, I still felt a little jittery. "Nathan, are you bankrupt?" I pondered for a moment, then decided to ask him. Nathan was completely drunk, holding me tightly and refusing to let go. Hearing my question, he squinted his eyes to look at me for a while before squeezing out a word. "Yeah." By the time I half-supported, half-dragged him out of the car and back home, I was covered in sweat. It wasn't until I had the chance to clean him up and catch my breath, did I get a moment to digest the explosive information of the evening and deal with my emotions. From everything, it seemed clear that Nathan had gone bankrupt. But so far, all I knew was that he had gone bankrupt, but to what extent? Had he ended up like my father all those years ago? Perhaps I didn't need to worry. Even if he was bankrupt, Nathan's family wealth would surely prevent him from ending up like my father. Despite this, I was still somewhat fearful and worried, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. I sat up and reached out to trace his handsome features, unable to imagine what he would do if he were to go through the same thing my father did. My stroking act roused Nathan, and he frowned slightly. Then he clasped my hand and placed it on his chest, murmuring, "Stella, stop it." At his calling of my name, Stella, I momentarily forgot all my questions and upset from earlier, and I threw myself onto his chest, feeling his heartbeat. How could I allow Nathan to fall from grace, to wallow in the mud, shorn of all his glory? Nathan is not only my savior, but also the man I love. In my world, he is like the sun in the sky. If the sun falls, does the world still exist? So, Nathan, it's my turn to save you now. With that, I got up and went to the wardrobe. I opened my mobile bank app, and it showed a balance of more than 73 million. Then, I took stock of my luxury items such as bags and jewelry, which were worth more than 20 million. If I liquidate my stocks, I will have even more. Having money at hand calms the mind. I sighed a sigh of relief. These should be able to help him tide over for some time. With this thought, I soon fell asleep, snuggling in Nathan's arms. Maybe his embrace wrapped me in warmth, and I slept until late the next morning. Awake yet? Nathan, with wet hair, came out of the bathroom. It looked like he had been awake for a while. "Are you hungry?" Seeing that I was still drowsy, he leaned over and touched my face. His hands, mingled with the moisture from the bathroom, felt icy cool, and instantly woke me up. I swatted his hand away, sat up, and glared at him. Nathan. Nathan was used to my morning grumpiness and my quirks. A hint of a smile flashed across his face, and he pinched my face as usual. "Get up, Zhang Jia made your favorite crab meat buns." "Shoes." I extended my foot and nudged him. Nathan sighed, picked up my shoes dutifully, and helped me put them on. "Do you want me to carry you downstairs?" I shook my head quickly at his teasing demeanor, indicating a no. But Nathan was clearly unwilling to let go of this opportunity. He lifted me up in his arms. Feeling suddenly weightless, I instinctively wrapped my legs around his waist and arms around his neck. However, the moment I lifted my face, I was caught off guard by his sudden kiss. Just before losing myself, I suddenly felt a bit of sorrow. "Nathan, you're always like this, giving me unrealistic illusions of love, making me believe that you have feelings and that you love me too. Making me gravitate towards you, like you, love you. But the moment I turn my back, you leave me behind and move towards others." After breakfast, Nathan left the house as usual. I assumed he was going to take care of the matters at hand, so I hurriedly fished out my bank card and handed it to him. "What?" He looked at me with a strange expression. Afraid of hurting his pride, I awkwardly ruffled my hair. "There's some money in this card. You take it for now. I'll contact someone to appraise the jewelry and sell off all the stocks. It should be enough to pull together more. Anyway, don't rush. Use everything here, and if it's not enough, we'll think of other ways." Nathan's face gradually shifted from puzzlement to surprise, seemingly not expecting that I would make such a decision. "The bankruptcy. It's okay, Nathan. Bankruptcy is not such a big deal. If it's you, everything will be fine." Nathan seemed to want to explain about the bankruptcy, but seeing his hesitation, I hurriedly interrupted. I didn't want him to bear the pain of revealing his wounds. His last dignity, I would protect it. Nathan looked at me for a moment, but didn't reach out to take the card. Finally, I couldn't help but look up at him. What's wrong? Nathan smiled. He reached out and tucked a stray lock of my hair behind my ear, then gave it a playful twist. All given to me, what about you? I casually responded, anyway, all the debts are paid off, and all these were also given by you. Once the money is gone, I can earn it back. I have been applying for jobs. It'll be okay once I find a job. Applying for jobs? Nathan furrowed his brows. Instead of saying more to burden him, I pushed him out. Hurry up and go do your work. Stella, I'm sorry. And, thank you. In the end, Nathan didn't take my money. Instead, he wrapped his arm around my waist and pulled me into his embrace, whispering his apologies into my ear. How did I react? I hugged him back tightly, offering him the warmest comfort, while quietly wiping the tears welling up in my eyes on his shoulder. Nathan became extremely busy in the following week, often leaving early and returning late. Even though we lived under the same roof, we saw less and less of each other. It wasn't until Sunday that he excitedly rushed home to tell me that everything was resolved. Although his company was gone, he didn't have any other losses. I was overjoyed, jumping into his arms and declaring boldly, Nathan, from today onwards, I will support you. For the rest of our lives, my Stella will be the backbone. Nathan gently kissed my forehead. At that moment, I felt like I was a fish, swimming in the vast blue sea. The sea breeze and the breaking waves weren't enough to soothe me, except for Nathan. I thought him and I were comrades standing shoulder to shoulder, our hearts finally close together. But reality delivered a cruel blow, shattering my pride and self-esteem. This is my third visit to Xinhui Private Club. The first time was soon after I met Nathan. He brought me here for a meal with friends. The second time was for Jasmine's birthday. This time it was ostensibly to celebrate Nathan's overcoming a difficulty, and David had organized a surprise party. It would be more accurate, though, to say that it was an exchange banquet aimed at networking and achieving mutual benefit. Nathan led me around, introducing me to many new faces and engaging in polite conversation. As someone who isn't fond of such occasions, I soon felt tired. Seeing my weary state, Nathan gently squeezed my hand and asked, feeling unwell? My legs hurt, I complained, drooping my eyes wearily. You're such a spoilsport, Nathan sighed. But he nonetheless took me to the resting area and even chose some snacks for me. You stay here and eat, don't wander off, he ordered. I obediently kissed his nose, causing his eyes to soften. But as fate would have it, no sooner had Nathan left when Jasmine showed up. I lifted my eyelids to pretend not to see her and continued eating my pastries. Nathan knew of the tension between Jasmine and I. But it wasn't really about anything concrete, we simply didn't click, our forces clashed. Of course, there's also the fact that Nathan likes her, not me. Stella, you're here too? Jasmine feigned surprise perfectly. Her voice came out both affectionate and clearly highlighting how out of place I was. With a lopsided smile, I gave her a response, then returned to eating. Unfazed by my coldness, Jasmine sat down across from me. Did Nathan bring you here? This conversation made the onlookers more curious about my relationship with Nathan, and the attention on me naturally increased. Jasmine, the center of trouble, always stood outside of it, seeming harmless. I hated dealing with her, so I picked up my plate to find another spot. But Jasmine let out a laugh. Stella, thank you, she said. I was confused. Thank me for what? I asked, looking up at her. Thanks for being willing to help me out of your own pocket. Nathan told me that you're planning to cash out all the stocks that you have, Jasmine explained. Her words seemed strange. I was prepared to help Nathan, not her. What do you mean? I asked. Oh, didn't Nathan tell you? She asked innocently. You mean what? My heart pounded in my chest, sensing that whatever she would say next, it'd turn my world upside down. A few days ago, my father's company faced a financial crisis. Nathan sold his company and liquidated some of his stocks to make up for the funds. Otherwise, the repercussions would have been catastrophic. I didn't expect that you'd also be willing to use all your savings to help me. I know you don't like me. So I'm shocked and moved by your kindness. I stopped listening to Jasmine after that. The buzzing in my ears filled my head, isolating me from the rest of the world. I needed to find Nathan, to ask him personally what was going on. Didn't his company go bankrupt? Why did he sell his company? Why did he apologize to me? What was he feeling when he decided to do this? I stumbled through the crowd, searching for him. And I finally found him on a balcony, talking to David. I couldn't wait, I needed to hear it from him. Man, Nathan, I must say, I admire you. Such a big thing, and you did it just like that, without thinking twice. All for Jasmine, you really didn't hold anything back, David said, stopping me in my tracks. I waited for Nathan's answer along with David. Nathan took a sip from his glass. It's just a company, I can rebuild it. We've known Jasmine since we were kids, I don't want to see her suffer. Ah, the things we do for love. David laughed, clinking his glass against Nathan's. Nathan chuckled awkwardly, don't talk nonsense. His casual, non-committal reply shattered any hopes I had. Despite my fashionable outfit, I felt naked. A heat rose from my feet, but a chill settled in my heart. As I bundled myself tighter against the cold, someone approached me and asked with concern, "Miss, are you okay?" Overwhelmed, I looked at him. The young man looked back at me in surprise, then gently took my arm and led me towards the exit. Feeling better? Mason passed me a cup of hot cocoa. I nodded shyly, thank you. Mason relaxed and stretched his legs next to me, his casual demeanor belying his age of 30. Then he took out a cigarette and turned to me. Do you mind? I shook my head, smiling. When you're down on your luck and someone comes along to pick up the pieces without sacrificing your dignity, you tend to let them get away with more. Have you heard everything? He exhaled a cloud of smoke and looked up at the sky. I nodded, taking a deep breath. I had come to know about his engagement to Jasmine and Nathan's deception. It's just a family arrangement. Mason turned his head to look at me, but it's true that Nathan is blind. He said it to me as a compliment, suggesting that Nathan rejects a pearl like me, instead picking up worthless pebbles. But this did not lift my spirits. In fact, it was the crux of the matter. What was so great about Jasmine that Nathan was pouring out his heart to her? If I was that good, how could he not see it? You eat when you're hungry, there's no need to lie when you're in love. Mason squinted his eyes, which is why I looked down on Nathan. I didn't respond, just took a small sip of cocoa. I didn't care whether Nathan was honest or not, I had already decided to leave. Do you want to dance? I asked unexpectedly, causing Mason to take a second glance. For revenge, he laughed, a bit devilish. I shrugged noncommittally. Mason stubbed out the cigarette, pulled me by the hand and we re-entered the ballroom. He whispered a few words to the bartender and soon, the infamous tango, just a step away, filled the hall. Feeling a bit nervous suddenly, Mason didn't give me a chance to back out. He put his arm around my waist and brought me to the center of the floor, then spun me around. I hadn't danced in several years and was a bit rusty, but Mason was a good partner. The embrace, the spins, the flirtation, he made every move feel just right. Romantic, elegant, and wild. After the dance, I was slightly out of breath, as was Mason. With hot breath, he lowered his head to ask me, "Did you enjoy it?" Excitement still coursing through me, I nodded, especially when I noticed Jasmine's pale face out of the corner of my eye. The feeling of satisfaction was almost doubled. Even to deepen this gratifying revenge, I deliberately moved a bit closer to Mason. If good girls get no love, might as well be a bad girl. Stella. Nathan's voice suddenly broke my reverie. My satisfaction faded and I turned rigidly to face him. His face maintained a gentle expression, devoid of jealousy or embarrassment. As if seeing me with another man was nothing to be bothered about. The car cruised in the dusk, the driver keeping his eyes strictly on the road. Nathan and I sat side by side in the back seat, neither of us speaking. The air was so calm, as if it froze. The inexplicable depression made me restlessness. How did you meet Mason, Stella? Nathan finally shifted his posture and turned to look at me after a long while. Under his gaze I felt uncomfortable, nothing particular, just happened to sit together. I don't know why I lied, maybe I just did not want Nathan to know that I had learned his secret. Nathan obviously didn't believe, he stared at me for a long time before he chuckled and looked away. Stella, Mason is Jasmine's fiancé, if anything goes wrong at this time, no one will look good. So he's trying to warn me not to have any designs on Mason, which would distress Jasmine. I turned to the window and didn't say anything, the devastating feeling of heartbreak was overwhelming me. This silence continued until bed, our intimate moments were silent and gloomy. The usual signs of passion, cuddling, tenderness, and pleasure, were absent. For the first time, Nathan, who always was gentle, showed no reluctance. Afterward, I closed our eyes with my back to him. But Nathan half leant over and asked, Stella, did dancing with Mason make you happy? I was not interested in guessing what was on his mind, simply pretended to be sleeping and didn't respond. After a while, the oppressive feeling finally disappeared. Nathan nestled me into his arms, stroking my hair over and over again. When I woke in the morning, Nathan was no longer there. Instinctively, I opened WeChat, wanted to ask him where he was, but stopped just before hitting the send button. I deleted text after text until I exited WeChat to check my inbox. Fangyuan Design had responded to my email, asking me to bring my resume for interview the next day. I was a little excited. Fangyuan Design was one of the top studios in China. It's a dream for many designers to join Fangyuan. But Fangyuan Design is located in S-City, half an hour away by high-speed rail. Even if I factor in the time to get to the railway station and to their office, it would be no less than 4 hours. Considering this, I must go one day in advance. After closing my email, I immediately booked the train ticket and hotel without pause, then swiftly set off for the S-City. As for Nathan, I hesitated for a moment, but I didn't tell him after all. I didn't tell Nathan, and Nathan didn't contact me either, and it continued until the end of the job interview the next day when he still didn't contact me. I thought my heart had already hit rock bottom, but I realized at that moment how much deeper it could sink. When I returned home and pushed open the door, darkness surrounded me, the cold clear moonlight signaled that Nathan had not been home. I knew it was time for me to leave. I managed to get a job at Fangyuan Design, which diluted some of the gloom, but I never expected to run into Mason here. Surprised? In the break room, Mason made a cup of coffee for me. I nodded, but then, after thinking, shook my head, surprised, but then again, not so surprised. Why? Mason soundlessly laughed. I thought you would follow in your father's footsteps and inherit the family fortune, so it surprised me to see you here. But considering your character, it did not surprise me. Mason habitually raised an eyebrow. It seems like you have good judgment. I only wonder how you ended up with Nathan. Suddenly mentioning Nathan, I felt uncomfortable. I took the opportunity of sipping my coffee to hide my momentary awkwardness, showing that I didn't want to discuss this topic. However, Mason was not willing to let it go. He smirked. Do you have Jasmine's WeChat? Yeah, I nodded. However, I didn't like seeing her posts, so I had blocked her a long time ago. Why was he bringing this up? Take a look. Mason revealed a face of watching a good show. I hesitated for a while, but finally, curiosity got the better of judgment. I pulled out my phone, opened WeChat, found Jasmine's profile and clicked on her moments. The most recent post was from 15 minutes ago. It was a beautiful selfie, with Nathan looking at some documents in the background. The caption read, "Goodbye, Paris." Looking further down, sure enough, in the last 2 weeks, the missing Nathan from my life had appeared in Jasmine's posts. The Paris which he had promised me but couldn't find the time to accompany, had now all become Jasmine's. In an instant, discomfort and despair swarmed me, with tears threatening to roll down. I looked at Mason. You did this on purpose. Yes, Mason easily admitted. I think you should face the reality, rather than living in self-deception. So what you mean is that you want to help me? I stared into his eyes, trying to figure out his motive. Mason remained frank and direct. I am no living Buddha. I'm just bored and need some fun. To compensate for the awkwardness his wicked amusement caused me, Mason offered a ride home after work. I accepted after failing to politely decline. What I had not expected was to see Nathan upon getting out the car. He looked haggard, obviously just arriving. The unexpected encounter left me stunned for a moment. Nathan acted as if nothing had happened. He still smiled at me. Stella. How come Nathan is here? I remained silent, but Mason, who had just opened the car door for me, spoke out. Nathan's smile faltered. I just got back from a business trip, and I have to thank you, Mason, for taking care of Stella for me. What business trip? We are both jobless. I managed to hold back my sarcasm. That's not right, Nathan. My taking care of Stella has absolutely nothing to do with you. Mason was always rebellious. He never played by the rules. It's simply because I like her. Nathan unusually lost his smile, his eyes filled with anger as he glared at Mason. A confrontation seemed inevitable, but I didn't want to make a scene. Nathan bro. I quickly spoke up to get Nathan's attention. Do you want to come up for some tea? Nathan bro? Nathan turned to look at me in disbelief. What did you call me? I usually call him Nathan, while others and friends call him Brother Nathan. This was the first time I've called him that. He must have been unused to it. I didn't answer his question, but turned to Mason. I warned him not to provoke with my eyes. However, Mason wasn't content with the situation, flicked me on the forehead and said, "Coward. Hey, you better go home, be careful on the road." I urged him to leave. Mason gave me a look of disappointment before he reluctantly got back in the car. Once Mason left, only silence and awkwardness remained between Nathan and me. I walked ahead with my head low while Nathan followed closely behind, keeping step with me. It seemed as though our roles had reversed. It was always me who used to follow him closely. Stella, what's your relationship with Mason? Nathan's voice echoed in the late-night elevator. I stared at his silhouette reflecting on the elevator doors for a while, and right as the doors opened, I slowly said, friends. From the elevator to my apartment, how far would it be? 5 meters, or 10? I had never measured it. It was only a few steps away. But that short distance was the longest walk I'd ever taken. The sound of our footsteps echoed throughout the empty hallway. I turned around just as I was about to reach for my door handle, almost bumping into Nathan who had followed me. But I didn't care. I blurted out as if I was afraid of backing out. Nathan, let's break up. After speaking, I subconsciously held my breath. Nathan remained silent for a long moment. I could feel the sweaty palm of my clenched hand. Nathan is very tall. He is a whole head taller than me. My eyes fell on his bobbing Adam's apple during the silence. It was obvious that he was angry, but he was clearly holding back. While I am somewhat proud, I am usually very obedient, so I wasn't surprised by his anger towards my sudden defiance. But I had made up my mind not to repeat the past, so I prepared myself for his wrath. As expected, Nathan, after a long while, could not keep it to himself. Stella, what are you talking about? His voice was hoarse. I said I want to break. Ahem. Nathan's kiss was intense, painful with its nibbling and biting. I bulked with all my might to push him away, but he was immovable, like a mountain. In the end, Nathan was defeated by a call from Jasmine. On the phone, I didn't know what Jasmine said to him. After hanging up the phone, he took a deep look at me, then turned and left. His attitude had a strong hint of flight and defeat. I didn't feel any joy of victory, I just felt everything was a bit surreal. The sadness and sorrow disappeared in a flash, and all that was left in my heart was emptiness. I thought everything would settle down that way, that Nathan and I would go our separate ways with no further intersections in life. Even if we met again, we would be nothing more than familiar strangers. However, I saw the news of him and Mason fighting in the entertainment headlines the next day. In his fury, the third young master of the Nathan family led a dog's life. It turns out that after Mason left my house, he rushed to Jasmine's house to cancel the marriage. The reason was simple, he did not want to be a villain who broke up someone else's relationship. Then he took out the pictures of Jasmine and Nathan together. Jasmine's family had just overcome difficulties, and they were in desperate need of Mason's help. So, about the picture, they all denied it, saying that the two grew up together like brother and sister. Mason already showed respect to them, but they not only did not appreciate it but tried to pretend to be innocent. Mason no longer held it in and called them out directly. The Mason family would never accept a woman who had cheated on him before marriage. This action stepped on the face of Jasmine's family. Jasmine started crying instantly. She accused Mason of defaming her, also saying Mason wanted to cancel the marriage was because he found another woman. To my surprise, the other woman sounds a lot like me. In the end, Nathan came in a hurry and fought with Mason. Mason obviously wouldn't be manipulated by others, so they got into a fight immediately. Their love triangle had nothing to do with me. To my knowledge, Mason may be curious about me, or sympathetic, but definitely not in love. And Nathan, I've been with him for so many years, if there was anything, why would it wait till now? Yet some people had to think that I was the instigator of it all. They even came to my office during my working hours to pick a fight with me. Jasmine, have a little dignity. The heiress of a jewelry merchant behaves like a shrew. Thanks to my good image, after Jasmine rushed in and slapped me, the people around quickly stopped her from further madness. Jasmine was furious. Stella, you're a fox, a shameless third party. Jasmine. Jasmine. Voices of reprimand rang out in front and behind. The former was Nathan, the latter was Mason. Seeing Nathan, Jasmine burst into tears. She broke free from the crowd and pounced towards Nathan. But unexpectedly, Nathan bypassed her and came to me and carefully cradled my reddened face in his hands. Are you hurting, Stella? I was stunned, Jasmine was stunned, and the people were stunned. Only Mason, standing at the side, wore an enlightened expression. Nathan. Jasmine watched Nathan in disbelief, her tear-streaked eyes forgetting to blink. For the first time, Nathan furiously scolded Jasmine, You hit her? Why did you hit her? Jasmine, how dare you hit her? The scene was a bit peculiar for a moment, with Nathan, who had been defending Jasmine yesterday, now yelling at her. The audience's gaze moved in silent rounds between us. It was Mason's timely intrusion. Break it up. Go on with your work. As for Miss Jasmine, please leave now. If you continue to create a scene, I will have security come up. Jasmine looked at Mason and Nathan in disbelief, and then, as if understanding something, she laughed hysterically and finally crouched on the ground and started weeping uncontrollably. After the incident of violence in the office, no matter how Nathan shielded me out of whatever reasons, it didn't move me at all. I still refused any dialogue and interaction with him, showing a decisive attitude that even shocked myself. I once thought I would never upset Nathan in my life. However, since then, in just half a month, I'd had Nathan hit a wall countless times. The roses he sent were torn open by me and given to my colleagues. The sweets and chocolates he sent were taken by me to the residential yard and given to the kids. The pure handcrafted ruby bracelet he had custom-made in Paris was put in a jewelry store for consignment selling. Nathan waited at my doorstep time and again, questioning me over and over. "Stella, are you leaving me because you like Mason? Stella, what's wrong with me? Tell me, I'll change, okay? Stella, didn't you say you'd support me all my life? Stella, I've sold my company. I won't work anymore and can spend time with you. Please, don't leave, okay?" I was cold-hearted, ignored him time and again, shut him out time and again. I couldn't tell anymore whether I was rejecting him or punishing him. Yet, my actions finally worked. For a whole week, I hadn't seen Nathan. I hadn't received any phone calls or WeChat messages from him, nor any gifts. He completely disappeared from my life. That's good news, isn't it? But why am I still feeling so sad? Ding dong, ding dong. When the doorbell rang, I virtually jumped up to answer. Just when I reached the door, I hastily returned, applied some lipstick in front of the mirror, fearing the doorbell would stop. I was too careless and the lipstick ran out of my lips. No time to correct, I simply wiped it off with my hand. In a hurry, but pretending to be calm, I opened the door, only to find Nathan's mother Elaine standing outside, not Nathan. I managed a strained smile, "Auntie Elaine." Elaine burst into tears at my sight, sobbing uncontrollably, clutching my hands. Stella, I beg you, please go see Nathan." Nathan was in trouble. My mind went blank. What happened to Nathan? Was it serious? Why did it happen? Elaine noticed my bewilderment and hastily shook me. Stella, where is Nathan? I snapped back to reality, gripping Elaine's hand tightly. "Auntie Elaine, where is Nathan?" In my flurry, I arrived at the rehab center, only to learn that Nathan, who was sitting alone in a corner looking at the sky, had severe personality disorder. Nathan had a developmental delay in his childhood, only starting to speak at 3, and could not form a complete sentence until he was 5. He stammered a bit and has always been subject to much mockery and gossip. Because we failed to intervene in time, he developed an avoidant personality disorder. Some people with avoidant personality disorder exhibit signs of timidity and self-doubt, and in Nathan's case, it's quite severe. He is a loner escapee, similar to a person with autism, avoiding interaction with anyone and isolating himself. Jasmine's mother was Nathan's primary physician. With her mother's assistance, Jasmine also participated in the treatment process. Jasmine's companionship and encouragement as a peer significantly improved the therapy results, and Nathan began to come out of his shell. Ever since then, Nathan has been very close to Jasmine. I even thought he liked Jasmine for a while, but upon further observation, I realized that he was merely close and tolerant of Jasmine, and he didn't have any feelings for her. So, Nathan never liked Jasmine. His closeness and affection towards Jasmine is merely a result of the help she gave him during his darkest hours of childhood? The truth of the past laying before my eyes left me stunned in place. But, then? Why? I stuttered, unable to ask why he didn't confess to me. Elaine noticed my confusion and explained, his avoidant personality disorder, although intervened, has not been fully desensitized. Deep down, he's still a bit timorous and unconfident, especially when facing the person he likes. As she spoke, she handed me a glass jar full of Stella's. She signaled for me to open it. I shakily opened the jar and took out a star-shaped piece of candy and unwrapped it. Clearly written on it was, "Love Stella. I'm fairly certain Nathan likes you." I suppose he's too scared to confess because he fears rejection, thinking that if he gets rejected, he won't even have the rights to be around you. Hearing this, I broke down in tears. We're both too foolish and stupid. I became stuck in a misunderstanding and refused to speak up, while he harbored his fears and did not dare to ask. As a result, we both failed to see the love we had for each other and missed our chance. I embraced the jar of Stella's and walked towards Nathan, step by step. Nathan saw me and finally responded, and he smiled, just as warm as always, but a bit more bewildered. "Stella, are you here to see me?" I wanted to smile and nod, but I couldn't control my tears and my voice was choked by sobs. So, I simply took his hand and quietly placed it on my stomach. Nathan was confused at first, but as I guided his hand to gently touch my stomach, he finally had an incredulous look in his eyes. Is there a little Stella in here? He carefully placed both hands on my stomach. I looked at him and nodded vigorously. Little Stella's daddy, do you want a little Stella? Then, would little Stella's mommy still want me? Tears welled up in Nathan's eyes. I couldn't hold back any longer and broke down sobbing in his arms. Nathan buried his head in the crook of my shoulder and quickly drenched my shirt with his tears. Little Stella was born on Qixi Festival, Chinese Valentine's Day, the next year. The nurses all said she was the most beautiful girl they've ever seen. Hearing this, Nathan grinned ear to ear and immediately gave each of them a big red envelope. But when Mason came to congratulate them with his newlywed wife, Nathan wasn't so kind to him. He looked at him with contempt. Holding his child with such pride annoyed Mason even more. As per usual, he raised his eyebrows and provoked Nathan. Don't get too proud, Nathan. The girl in your arms might just become my Mason family's daughter-in-law. This infuriated Nathan, who threatened that if Mason's son dared to sway in front of little Stella, he would break his legs. But who could predict or control these things? Love is indeed mystical and wonderful, but to gain it, remember these words, be honest. Just as Gabriel Garcia Marquez says in Love in the Time of Cholera, eat when hungry, and there's no need to lie when in love.